This is the Oklahoma Talking Company.
Welcome to Activate Your Strengths with Rhonda Boyle. StrengthsFinder 2.0 is an analytical assessment created by Gallup Corporation, and many people today are using it to change their lives, improve their relationships, and enhance their work experience. This is the podcast where we explore using your natural talents and gifts in your personal and professional development. And now, here's your host, Rhonda Boyle.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am Rhonda Boyle, your host, and Jason Baffrey is here with me, working all those controls over there. How you doing this morning, Jason?
Good morning, Rhonda. I'm doing fabulous.
Good to see you. And I'm just super pumped about who our guest is today. She is awesome, and I cannot wait to introduce you to her. She has been in Oklahoma City since 2005. She's originally from New Orleans and came here after Hurricane Katrina. She's married to David, has 3 children, and lives in Edmond, Oklahoma. She's had a long time career in management and sales and is now on her own as a real estate agent running all over Oklahoma City. Welcome, Janel Randall.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here today.
Glad to be here.
So, you know what? We always start off the show talking about StrengthsFinder and the 34 talent themes from this test called StrengthsFinder 2.0. You can find it at the GallupStrengthsCenter.com. And we like to know what your top 5 are. So tell us what those are.
Sure. My top 5 is responsibility, strategic, command, relator, and ideation.
Awesome. And we're going to see that command in a little bit, I'm sure. So let me ask you this first off. When you heard about this test, you mentioned through networking. Mm-hmm. And so you weren't really thrilled and keen to go take it, were you?
Not initially, because it was introduced to me as a whole with doing the full $89.
Oh,
and at first I was like, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just wait to see if I can hear a little bit more about it before I just kind of delve in.
Well, and then everywhere you went in Oklahoma City,
I started hearing more and more and more. So I decided to take the test.
And then you found out that they have an option. You can get your top 5 for $15.
Correct. And so I did that first. And just kind of learned those and was actually surprised and fascinated at how they lined up, and it was so me.
So you.
So me.
So your first aha was what? Wow, they hit it on the head.
Wow, yes, that's exactly what I said.
I know. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing to me that they can, this simple test, it takes about 30 minutes for you to take, 177 questions, which sounds like a lot, but they come at you pretty quickly.
They do.
And it can nail who you are and how you operate in the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
It does.
The whole point of it, though, is not just to know what the test is. It's actually to do the work around the test and actually grow yourself, develop your talents, and create a life for yourself. And that's what you've done. It's pretty amazing. So let's talk about your first talent, which is responsibility. So people with responsibility, they get a lot of stuff done, and they take ownership, psychological ownership of whatever they have control over.
That's so true.
And so how is that for you?
It's true. Anything that I say that I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. If I tell you, never have to worry. You don't need it in writing. If I tell you that I'm going to do something, it's going to be done.
Because your word is your bond.
It is.
Yeah. And if you don't get it done, what happens?
I feel really bad. I sometimes get a little ill.
You got to put yourself to bed for a while.
But then I will also tell you, I'm sorry, I can't get it done. I won't flake out, but I'll just tell you. I'll come and tell you.
Right. Now, you told me, and I thought this was just really funny, that you have to be in the mix of everything.
I do.
And this is true about you. So that means you touch, what, your family?
Family, projects, whatever I'm dedicated to, I got to be in the mix. I can't just sit back and watch.
So a DIY at your house
is me.
It's going to include you. You don't let your kids do it alone or anything, right?
No.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you really supervise Like everything, every aspect of your family's life and so forth, right? Because who else is going to do it, Janelle, but you?
Right.
That's right. Now, you also confessed to me that riding in the passenger seat
is hard.
It is. Now, why is that?
Because I have to be in control. I'm sorry. I have to be in control.
Yeah, don't apologize, but that's the truth because that is the need, the deep need. Each of your talents and mine come with a need, and you really need to have that control, right?
Yes, I do.
So sometimes that can get you in trouble.
It does.
Yeah, so who taught your kids how to drive?
My husband.
Why is that?
Because I wasn't nice, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think I heard that he said. I was overhearing him in the background going, "No, she couldn't teach those kids.
Could not do it."
Well, sometimes you do have to let go because you know that you're going to kind of micromanage.
I do.
Well, and that's the challenge for those of you with responsibility is to really know when to hold them and know when to fold them, I guess, and let it go. And you mentioned also when we were talking that you really do a lot for a lot of people, or you did, especially when you lived in New Orleans.
Yes.
So when you go home, like from Oklahoma City, you're going to go for a visit. Your family picks up the phone and calls you and they want to know things.
Yes, they do. They're, Janelle, what are you doing? I got this whatever going on. Can you help me?
Or can you look up the phone number in the phone book?
Yeah, do you remember the phone number to the dry cleaner on Lapelco? It's like, what?
No. That's funny. And then you said, too, one other story you told me was about the fence building. And tell us what was unique about that.
Well, I was 8 months pregnant at the time, and my aunt, we lived in the same neighborhood. And again, I just love projects. So my uncle was putting up the fence, and I was on my daily pregnancy walk, and I discovered he was putting up the fence, and so I went to help. And people were driving by slowly like, what in the world is this lady doing putting up a fence? She's
so
pregnant.
There you were helping your uncle put up the fence.
Yeah, he was embarrassed at first, but then he appreciated the help.
But you couldn't not do it.
I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
Yeah, you're compelled. And that's the whole thing about our talents is that with each one of them, whatever they are, you cannot not do them. They really are who you are. So it's exciting that you know that, and then you get to learn the pitfalls and, what happens when you do it this way as opposed to that way, and it can keep you kind of out of trouble when you know. So let's move on now to your strategic. Now, strategic is a very common talent. I think it's like the second or third most common talent. Actually, responsibility, if I'm not mistaken, is the number one common talent.
Oh, wow.
Well, this may be why we have problems in the world today because people want control and there's always a battle for it. But strategic also is common, and people with strategic, it's almost as if you see things from 30,000 feet up.
Yes.
Is that, it's not high enough for me to know how that works. And it's not like you're looking down from the air or anything, but you see the full scope of what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, sometimes it is like looking down from the air.
How is that?
When I first moved here, this Oklahoma City is a very easy city to navigate through as far as the roads and the infrastructure. But coming in as an outside sales rep, I would constantly stare at a map. So I was looking down at the map to learn where to go.
And that's how you learn.
And that's how I learned the city.
The path, so to speak. Do you do that with other problems and other things that get in your lap?
No, it's more mental than visual. I'll just mentally analyze.
Yeah, there you go.
The
mentalize. I think that's
newer.
We created a new word.
Mentalize. Just envision what it is that I'm trying to do, and I just see myself almost like driving down the road.
Sure. You can see it ahead of time.
I can.
So when you're working with a new real estate client and you can kind of map out in advance where you want to take them and based on what their needs are. So you're able to kind of envision the neighborhoods and the city and so forth.
Yes.
So yeah, that's you mentioned that you see also various scenarios for your clients. What does that look like?
When we come across a home that they say this is the one, I'll just prepare them for the ups and downs, give them all the options that could happen versus just the seller saying yes.
Okay.
And so that they're cautiously optimistic to a positive outcome.
Sure. Okay. So you kind of prepare them in advance for the different ways
Yes.
that it could go. And that's what people with strategic see. They choose the most efficient path,
Yeah.
usually, but they do see multiple options. So if it goes this way, we're going to go that way. Nobody on the radio can see my hand gestures. Those of you on Periscope can. But you see the different paths, and if you know the obstacles, is that kind of how it works?
Yes, and it could or couldn't happen, but just in case.
And you know where you're going to go if it does happen.
Yes.
You already have you've thought out the plan.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you look for the most efficient way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's you combining some of your talents, probably.
Yes. And you say most efficient, I say the right way.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's your responsibility, isn't it?
Exactly.
Responsibility picks a right way, and there's only one way, and it's the right way, and it's usually Janel's way, right?
Correct.
And that would really kind of feed us into your command.
It does.
So your command talent, command is one of those rare talents. Less than 5% of people who have taken this test, and there's been, well over 13 million as of the time of this recording, only 5% or less have actually tested high in their top 5 with command.
Wow.
And you're one of them.
Yeah. Awesome.
You're a little bossy.
I am bossy.
Oh, you fully admit it.
Oh, yeah.
With a smile on your face. Look at you.
Unapologetic.
Unapologetic, right. And so we had this really conversation when we did the pre-interview that you really didn't get accused of being bossy until you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
Or late teens.
Late teens, yeah.
And 20s. And I'm wondering if that might be because you were an only child.
It could be. I did have a few cousins that we played together quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I was pretty much a loner. I'd rather read a book or watch
Sure.
Sesame Street as a kid versus going outside and play.
Right.
So.
Well, so you didn't have anybody that you were having to boss around
Nope.
until later.
Until later.
And that's so fun. And then what did your mom say at one point?
That I was just getting a little bit too outspoken for her.
A little bit too smart for your britches or
How
something.
dare you.
How dare you came out of her mouth?
Respect your elders. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I do. I do respect my elders, but she felt that the voice that I had found for myself was just a little bit different from hers, and she didn't like it.
So how did you find it? Do you even know when you just suddenly rose up and you had command?
I don't know. And it was basically that. I just suddenly rose up. I found my voice. I wasn't just that shy, quiet, introverted little girl anymore.
Well, you still are shy and quiet and introverted.
A little.
It's it's only when you need to take charge of something
Yes.
that you become this commando.
Yes.
And your voice changes. Yeah, and it's gotten you in a little trouble now as an
It
adult,
has.
hasn't it?
has.
What happened? You told me about a job.
Yes, working in sales in corporate America. I had just started with a new company, but I had already been in this particular industry for 7 years, and I was very familiar with the way things went. And so I needed something from the accounting department, so I walked over, haphazardly, and went to speak to the person that was in charge of my accounts per se, and asked her for something. And she took it as a command. And she went to her boss and said, I will not be talked to that way. I'm not going to tolerate it. And I'm like, what did I do?
You had no idea.
Had no idea.
And you said that you've been accused of being condescending.
Yes, all the time.
Still.
Still.
All the time.
Still. And I try to pull it back when I am aware But yeah.
But you have no idea.
No idea.
That you're being condescending, or that people would perceive you as condescending.
Yes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just your manner and the way you take charge.
Yes.
And what people don't realize is that you're not intending to be bossy. Nobody with command really is. You just want clarity.
Yeah, that's it. And I've learned to preface when I have to say something that is clear and concise.
Okay,
to
so how do you
soften the
do
blow.
that?
Initially, sometimes I'll just tell people that I'm a bossy.
Oh, you tell them up
Such
front
and
that
such.
you're a little
Yes.
bit bossy?
So if I say something, it's not that I'm trying to tell you what to do. It's just this is who I am.
Well, how has that been for you now to have this word in your vocabulary when you took this test? I looked back, it's been about 18 months that we've been working together. And so, how did it make you feel when you finally had a word to identify yourself with?
Well, I've always had self-assurance. So the confidence, that little light within was always there. That's my number 6.
Sure.
So it actually empowered me just a little bit more to be comfortable with the skin that I'm in.
So not to be more bossy.
No.
But to really recognize what you're here for.
Yes.
Is to bring clarity to the situation.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. And it's amazing how you're able to do that. So people with command, if they are in what we call the outhouse, they can be a little dictatorish.
Yes, I can.
You admit that fully.
Absolutely.
Yes. But for the most part, it's really just making sure that everybody's clear on where they're going, what we're doing, and what's going on. You just cut through those arguments, and that's about it.
Moving forward.
Let's go. Move on, right? Cool. So let's talk about your relator. Now, people with relator, they like to go deep in relationships and learn really the depth of other people. But they don't share too much about themselves, do they?
No, they don't.
So why is that? Because I think there's I'm just going to tell you, and relator's number 23 for me, so it's not high enough for me to really get you. You're in what we call the blind spot. So if I'm looking, at my top 5 right through the windshield of my car, and then I can see my other talents or really understand my top 10 to 15 because they're maybe looking out the side mirrors if you're driving down a car. But I can't see what's down below my number 15. I don't even get it. And it's a blind spot. And neither do you get me in the blind spots where I sit in your talent range. So it's been a kind of people think that people with relator have a lot of secrets.
No,
and
we
you
don't
might.
have secrets.
Well, you're
wouldn't
really
say that they're
open if
secrets.
we ask.
Yeah. I'm very forthcoming if you ask.
If we ask. But you're just not going to blab like me with a woo, my woo in communication. I tell everything all the time, right?
No, I won't.
Well, why is that?
Because it's not necessary. It's not important.
You think it's not important.
I do think it's not important.
Yeah. And so that's it. You just don't share your depth because nobody asks.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I've heard that before. I've heard that before today with people who do actually say, no, I just don't think that I have anything of value to offer. And so
I do downplay myself sometimes. I don't boast at all. So if you were to ask me, so who is Janel? Oh, I'm just Janel.
You're just Janel.
That's it.
But you're awesome. So you also mentioned to me that people tend to tell you everything.
Everything, as if I have a sign on my forehead that says, tell me your innermost thoughts and secrets. Yes.
Well, they trust you.
They do.
And that's the part about relators is relators don't go about blabbing everything. They hold secrets. So that's why people know there's something about you that people trust, and that's really a hallmark of the talent itself is trust. So you really, though, only have about 2 to 5 people. You can count them on your hand, right?
Yes, I can.
The people that you let know the real Janel.
Yes.
So I mentioned when we were talking the other day that relator is sort of like a bullseye. Like all of your people, your inner people are right there in that bullseye center. But it's not really that even. And as we talked it through, I realized that it's really more like a raindrop hitting the pond, right? So if you imagine a raindrop hitting the pond, it makes that initial circle. That's your inner circle.
Yes.
But then it ripples out. So you do have multiple circles. And so what causes people to go in and out of there?
Trust.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
And if anybody in that inner circle, the one way to get them booted out is what?
Betrayal.
Yeah. You're going to kick them out fast.
Yes.
And it's not a matter of not forgiving them or, being okay with whatever it is they did, but they're just not getting in again.
They're not getting in again.
Ever.
Ever.
Right. That's how Relator works. So let's talk about your ideation. So ideation, I like to call popcorn brain.
Absolutely.
I have it. It's my number one talent, so I get it. And so we have trouble sleeping sometimes, don't we?
We do.
Because our brains are just active. And so one of the things you said is that ideas pop so fast, sometimes you have trouble communicating.
Yes. I will be talking and I'll start a sentence and won't finish it. And I'll just leave you hanging.
Because
I moved on.
You moved on, and you've either gotten rid of the idea or you're actually moving towards it and doing something about it.
Yes, and that's where my strategic comes in, because if I think of something, I stop in the conversation and I'll just go down the path to kind of calculate it.
Yeah,
and then if it works, then I'll finish. But if not, I moved on.
You move. So that's how it works. So you get an idea, you map it with speed.
Yes.
That's where strategic is. They quickly, they don't sit and plan.
No.
They see it.
Yes.
You see it in your mind's eye somewhere.
Yes. I make decisions very quickly, but they're sound decisions most of the time.
But that's where, you just don't fit it. You're done. You're like, oh no, that way, and you're discarding it so fast. And this is where people think you're leaving them hanging.
Exactly.
And you don't mean to leave them hanging.
Especially David.
Yes, your husband, David, right? So you also said that you loved your ideation during grad school. Why is that?
Because everything's about a group project and a team. So we get to brainstorm a lot. And the critical thinking of grad school is what I loved a lot. I almost breezed through it, with the exception of one class.
Uh-oh. Do we get to hear about that class?
It was a multinational finance class.
Oh my gosh. I can't even think. My brain hurts already.
So it's not your everyday math, it's different. And the first time I took it, I failed a course in grad school.
Uh-oh.
I didn't get it. The way that I had perceived the class to be was not how it was.
Sure.
So I got humbled really quick, and I had to take it again.
Which is kind of hard for command, isn't it?
Yeah, I was devastated. It blew me away.
Well, that would have been the devastation, I bet, was your responsibility.
Responsibility, yes.
Because you want to do things right.
Yeah, I did.
So let me, I want to move forward here just really quickly, because you have really, in 18 months, you have enculturated this language into your family, into your work, into your networking, into your relationships.
Yes.
And so tell me how that's worked for you, because I know that your oldest son, you've had him tested. What about him?
He's 100% thinker. So he
top
is
5.
Always in his head, always. And he has trouble sleeping. He's up at 4 a.m.
Well, he has ideation and intellection, doesn't he?
Yes,
and
he
then
does.
Context, if I'm remembering.
Context. He loves history. Loves history.
So when you see him stuck,
I just tell him, I'm like, you're in your head. You need to get out of your head.
So this language has really, just understanding what's going on with him has really helped your relationship.
Yes. And when I say you're in your head, he's not insulted by it now.
And he used to be.
And he used to be.
He was annoyed like crazy.
How dare you?
How dare you tell me to get out of my head? I really like it there.
He
right?
does.
But now he sees reason.
Yes.
And he understands that you're not telling it because you're commanding him, although you probably are commanding him.
Still, a little bit.
But you're telling him because you recognize where he's in the outhouse with it. And he's not doing anything. He's just thinking.
He's just thinking, yeah.
So that's
his
really
boss
been
has even
helpful.
told him he's changed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It does bring change when you really start to understand yourself.
does.
So how about now your husband? We've actually interviewed him on the show.
Yes.
Mr. David Randall. And so
And Rhonda, I did want to jump in and remind people that if they're listening to this show, they can go back and find the interview with David
Yes.
at Oklahoma Talking Company, oklahomatalking.co. You can find all of Rhonda's shows, but it would be interesting to go back and listen to the interview with David and
That's
then
right.
correspond and contrast his interview with Janelle's interview.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they are
Definitely.
completely different people. Although you do have ideation in common.
We do
if I
have
remember.
ideation and input in our top 10.
Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Yeah, and you'll find that a lot. Couples will have one or two that they have in common, but the rest of them are
That's it.
completely different.
That is it.
So tell me how that has worked with your marriage, how knowing this has helped.
Well, we recognize each other's strengths. You know, I don't necessarily think that he doesn't want to be around us anymore with his intellection. He can't help it.
Because he used to just slip upstairs and it would annoy you.
It would, and it was hours and hours and hours. So now sometimes I'll just say, "Hello, Mr. Intellection. It's time for you to come out to the real world."
That's right. My husband has intellection in his top 5, so I get it. It's like, when are you going to come out of that book? I need to talk to you for a minute.
Exactly.
And I have found that if I give him a warning, like I can't interrupt him. I do have to interrupt him, but I'll say, hey, I need to talk to you. Can we talk in 30 minutes?
Yes.
So I give him that timeline instead of just constantly interrupting. Our first argument was actually over me interrupting his reading. And he looked at me and he said, can you not see that I'm reading? I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm talking. I need to talk to you. That didn't work. But I got flowers out of the deal. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. So anyway, you said that your husband, the house could be on fire and you don't think he would notice.
He wouldn't.
No, because he's in another world.
I love you, David.
And Mr. Baffrey, you have intellection also, I believe.
Yes, I do, and I'm learning a lot through this conversation. And I think maybe my wife and I might need to have a session with you too. So
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have to have Katie listen to the show so
That's
she
right.
understands. So yeah, people with intellection, they have to have their time alone. And they're really lone wolves. And they don't mean to be isolationist or anything. It's just how they are. So imagine being married to someone, well, you don't have to imagine because you are.
I'm married
And
to
so
him.
it can cause problems if you don't understand that they're not ignoring you, that they just need their space and their time because they're in there cogitating, you know, burning the wheels, I'm telling you, right? So now your clients, you obviously can't say, well, let me test my clients, you know, when you ride with them. But you've learned this language so well that you can recognize. So tell us how that looks.
It has given me the ability to recognize the quadrants per se, what type of person they are, so that I know which way to go or not go, especially with command. You know, I have to reel that back because I want my clients to stay with me.
Yes,
and
right.
not go somewhere else. So it's helped me learn their quadrants.
Sure.
And I'll tell them, oh, you're a thinker. And they're like, yeah, how did you know?
Well, and the talents are divided. Gallup Corporation has divided the talents into 4 different quadrants or domains, we call them. And we like to call them doers because they get stuff done.
Yes.
They are executors. They love processes and so forth.
Yes, my doers, when it's time to get due diligence, they are Johnny on the spot. I love them.
Yeah, they're like
love
getting
them.
it done,
Getting
giving
it
you
done.
your paperwork, getting
Yes.
the things in that you need. And then you have thinkers.
Yes.
They're strategic in the way that they think.
Yes, those are my favorite too.
And why?
Because I'm a thinker.
And so how do they process though?
They process the same way that I do, so it's an easier relationship between the two of us
Because you get them.
because I get them.
Because you're a thinker.
Yes.
And so then how about the promoters who are really influencers? That's me.
yeah.
Now, so be careful.
The promoters, I'm basically just kind of sitting back and just letting them have their energetic moments. I don't interject or anything. I just let them be them.
You let us be, because
Yes.
that would be me.
Yes.
And then how about those nurturers, the relationship builders, those who love on people and so forth?
I like those too because, again, as far as my relator goes, it allows me to go deeper.
Sure.
With my clients that are willing to share.
Good. Awesome. Well, it has been so awesome having you on the show today. I'm so glad
fun.
you
Thank
came
you.
by. So tell everybody how we can reach you.
Phone number or
Whatever
email
you
address?
want. This is going out to Oklahoma City.
Oh,
Actually,
wow.
it'll go out in the world. People in Russia might actually hear this. So.
Awesome. Well, my web address is JanelRandallHomes.com. That's JanelRandall.
Awesome.
Homes.com. I'm a realtor.
Okay, good. So if you're looking for property in Oklahoma City, you have somebody who can understand you for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we appreciate you listening in today. And thank you to our Periscope people. We will see you next week.
Thank you for
This is
having
Rhonda
me.
Boyle. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Activate Your Strengths with Rhonda Boyle is a presentation of Oklahoma Talking Company. Learn more and listen to other great programs at oklahomatalking.co. This has been a production of Destiny Creative.